Shalom, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas from TBN Israel, the podcast.
And all the holidays.
Yes,
whatever
holiday
you're celebrating at home, happy holidays.
Definitely.
Chag Sameach, Chag Hanukkah Sameach, Tomer.
Yeah, and thank you for our Micha, who set this amazing studio with all the Christmas and Hanukkah decorations. And today, we've been waking up at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and 4 in the morning, not because of our babies and children, but because of the Houthis launching ballistic missiles at us.
Well, not us, but our neighbors who live outside of the Jerusalem area.
Yeah,
Oddly enough, Jerusalem's been sleeping well lately.
Sometimes it's good to live in Jerusalem.
Only sometimes.
It's in seasons, the missiles are fired at Tel Aviv, and then the stabbing attacks are towards Jerusalem.
Anyway, so today's headline is the Houthis are still with us.
And who are the Houthis?
We'll deal with that. We thought the war was over. Mm-hmm. We keep giving false hope to ourselves, at least, expecting...
Oh yeah, the ceasefire. Yeah, we have a ceasefire. We maybe have a ceasefire agreement in Gaza as well, which also, the hopes for that kind of disappeared in the past few days.
No, well, fighting has de-escalated dramatically in the Gaza Strip, and everything's been sort of scaling down for a while. And then the Houthis, which are the last stronghold, I guess, of Iranian influence, the last proxy standing for the Iranians, again in Yemen, they've been launching these small attacks on Israel every night almost for over a week now at this point.
Yeah. And the issue is that they launch these missiles. Most of the times our defense systems intercept them, but because of the trajectory of the missile, then the shrapnel and all the debris of what's left of the missile still land inside Israel.
Yeah.
And that's why we have all the alarms that cause millions of people to rush to bomb shelters in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Some of these people are, elderly, and they either fall and break a leg, twist an ankle, while rushing to the bomb shelters. This is like the majority of the, injuries that we have because of these Houthi attacks.
Yeah, and let's be clear here. This isn't anything like what we had previously from the Iranians. Mm-hmm. This is one ballistic missile, maybe another kind of, what do you call them?
Drone.
They're trying to use other flying elements to distract and fake targets to our aerial defense systems. And when they do that, they're trying to get Israeli citizens out of their beds and scared, and their kids to lose sleep that night. Because the whole goal here is to say, you thought you were done, but hey, we're the guys in flip-flops over in the corner. We want to remind you that we're not done. We're still here. And let's be honest here. The enemy is one, and the name is very, very clear. The Iranian, let's call it the Muslim Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. Through the Houthis are the one launching these missiles. The training is theirs. The weaponry is theirs. Their fingerprint is on everything that's happening. Yeah. They're here to show us, you thought you were done with us.
They're not shy about it. They are definitely not shy about it.
They even make official statements on X saying, we will lit Tel Aviv and Israel up.
Run to the shelters. They wrote first. They deleted it. Then they wrote, be afraid, we're gonna kill you all or something. And then the last thing that they said was, free Palestine.
And
the people of
supposedly
Gaza.
All related to the war in Gaza, and they call on us to stop the fighting in Gaza. I don't think that a Houthi ever met a Palestinian from Gaza in person.
This time they hit, they missile worked. They penetrate our defense system.
Yeah,
one of them.
Just to show that their sophistication is increasing with time. Mm-hmm. And again, this is not really, it's the Houthis that are sending the messaging. The people that are behind this are the Iranians, and the Iranians are not stupid. On the contrary, they're very, 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 conniving and intelligent people. Yeah. And they've been learning our air defenses, and they've been using a bunch of countermeasures to trick our air defense systems and enter into Israeli airspace undetected. And they've been semi-successful. I mean, some of the, at first it was the debris of the missiles that were shot overhead, but at least, was it 1 or 2 events in the last week? One of them, where it hit a school, and if it had happened during the day, there would have been kids in that school.
Yeah, a playground. I think a playground in Jaffa.
It hit a playground just outside of a large school.
But in the middle of the night on a weekend.
Yeah.
But But in general, I think that the Houthis have been successful in disrupting the entire European and Western shipping lanes. Basically, everything that all of us buy costs more because of the Houthis.
Yeah.
And for some reason, well, until now, I would say, only Israel dealt with them. Now we've been seeing and hearing more that the United States have been bombing the Houthis, and I think Britain, if that's correct.
That's correct.
And this is becoming...
all the allies.
Yeah, this is becoming basically a Western issue. But for some reason, Mati, they are not designated and they're not like recognized as a terrorist organization by the United States and by the European Union.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they are not. There was a few days ago, there was a discussion at the United Nations Security Council just about that. Tomer, maybe we have the results of that.
Actually, I can
Nothing.
Guess why.
Why?
You have the Houthis. There's alliances that are going on in the Middle East, and the Houthis are aligned with the Iranians, and then there's these alliance groups that are fighting against each other. I remember a couple of years back, the Houthis, quote unquote, attacked the Saudis.
Yes.
You remember that?
Yeah, I know.
It was a swarm drone attack where they knocked out one of the biggest oil refinery
in Saudi Arabia.
Plants in Saudi Arabia. It was huge. I mean, financial damage was in the hundreds of millions of dollars. It was a very substantial attack, and they could have done worse.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing the politics here play a really big game in all of this. Let's remind people, I think, who these Houthis are and what they're doing here. I feel like it's this never-ending game here of every week we have to learn a new organization because someone new is made up. And the names of the leaders, not with the Houthis at least, but most of the other organizations, it's a new leader every other week. Yeah.
Mati, can you tell our viewers first, before we dive in, to like and subscribe us?
Yes, please. please.
Like, share, subscribe to TBN Israel. It really helps us to reach more people with what's happening in Israel. And we learned...
What was the percentage?
60% of you, or 40%?
49.
49% are not subscribers. So most of our viewers just watch, but they are not subscribers. So please subscribe. It helps us. And if you like the videos, press this little bell, so it will remind you when we're going live, when we just posted a new video, and you'll stay up to date with the situation here.
Okay, let's continue.
Yeah.
Can we continue now?
Can we continue, Motor?
You remember where we've been?
Yes, we do. So we're going to talk about who the Houthis are. So the Houthis, first of all, are based in a country called Yemen.
Yes.
And Yemen sits, as do several other countries, on what is called the Arabian Sea / the Persian Sea.
In the Mediterranean. In the Middle East. In the Middle East, yeah. In
the Middle East, and so the neighbors of this country are the best of the best of our country. You have Saudis, you have the UAE, you have several other countries that all share this area. And one of the most crucial, maritime commerce routes runs right by Yemen, and also, of course, by the Iranians. Yeah. It's called the Straits of Bab el-Mandab, and there are several other, the Iranians have the Straits of Hormuz. But essentially, when you look at how you disrupt maritime trade, is you bottleneck maritime traffic.
Yeah.
And the way they do that is they don't have to close the sea. The sea is, it's hundreds of kilometers. All they have to do is make it dangerous enough for insurance companies to say, perhaps the ship should, instead of driving straight, you should go around Africa, extending the trip by weeks or longer for a ship, adding sometimes hundreds of dollars per container on a ship in costs.
Or you can pay a higher premium, and then we'll still insure your ships if they want to go through that dangerous area that in which the Houthis are launching either suicide drones at the ships or ships that are exploding on them.
I think to understand the Houthis, you just need to watch their flag and read what it's wrote on their flag.
Yeah,
I put you there.
It's quite an extensive description.
Yeah. They have an amazing vision. An amazing vision. What? That what is it like?
Here is the flag.
Okay, so it's Allah Akbar. God is great. Death to America. Wait, so you disappeared it. Oh, death to America. Death to Israel. Curse the Jews.
Win to Islam.
Victory to Islam.
Victory is not Islam.
Yeah, so that's like their mandate. That's their flag. And this is who we're dealing with. It's not so different from the Hamas slogan. which is kind of similar to
I think both of them starting with Allah Akbar.
A couple thoughts here. First of all, they need to hire a new graphic designer. That is absolute trash of a logo, I have to say. Trash. Could do better with Canva than what they did over there. But to your point, so the founder of this movement, his name is Hussein Badr ad-Din al-Houthi, which is where the name comes from.
This dude.
This kind gentleman over there.
Yeah.
Kind, I of course mean facetiously because he isn't kind, and he isn't much of a gentleman either.
I don't think he's kind to his own people at all.
So first and foremost, like everything in the Middle East, the biggest victims of the Houthis are, of course, the people of Yemen.
Yeah.
The Houthis are not the elected government. They were not voted or picked or hailed as the saviors of the Yemenite people. They have destroyed the country of Yemen.
They've also control all Yemen.
Yes, they're a rebel group that started as and again, without getting into like a second semester lesson of the weird streams within Islam. Islam, in a similar way to any other religion, has these very, very, very like niche, let's call it movements within the religion, and these people are representative of one of those many types of Islam. It's called Zaidi Shia Islam.
Yeah.
It's a very specific stream within Islam.
And there are like also between 150 and maybe 250 Houthis in Yemen that are controlling the port cities, that are controlling some strategic.
You mean thousand?
Thousands.
Yes.
Yeah,
150.
150 to 250,000 Houthis.
For fighters.
Yeah, militants,
militants,
basically. That are controlling Sana'a, that are controlling Hudaydah and the major port cities of this country. And like in the Gaza Strip, they are controlling the humanitarian aid shipments from the West. Because the Yemenite people are suffering economically. They have natural disasters. And the West and Western countries are sending in food, humanitarian aid that goes through the Houthis that are taking it, either selling it to the people or just keeping it for themselves. Sounds familiar, Mati?
It sounds so repetitive that it's sad. I want to make a point here. People, again, we always go into the geopolitics and stuff like that, and that's, thank you. This is called what they call military grade chocolate. 90% chocolate. You cannot yet, but maybe we should have this on our store because this stuff it's got the amount of antioxidants that can kickstart your arteries. Anyway, to our point. So these people come in, and they start back in the 90s destabilizing Yemen, and they're fighting internally, and they bring down, think Africa. Think the kind of conflicts that you have in Africa that demolish a country for a century, not for 5 years.
Yeah.
We're talking, ethnic cleansing. We're talking systematic rape. We're talking acts of violence. We're talking the destruction
kidnapping of children and turning them into militants.
That's recent, yeah. So infrastructure wars, and now they've devolved all the way into what you would call almost like a warlord battle in what you would imagine in Central Africa in the past, where they've run out of people to recruit, and they've started recruiting into child armies. Think 10 years ago, this is the kind of stuff we were talking about in Africa, where you're kidnapping kids and teenagers from villages to fight in a war between different factions in the country. Let me give you some numbers. I was like looking into this before we started to explain how devastating this is, because before it touches Israel, before it affects the shipment of sneakers to Europe and cars to like other countries in the world, the Yemenite people are the ones suffering from this.
Always, yeah.
Here's some numbers to chew on. GDP has shrunk by 50% since 2015. 50%. Think about that. 50% of your gross domestic product is gone since 2015.
Wow.
It takes, let's say this, in a developing country, if they have a 5% per year growth of their economy, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Developed countries, we're talking Israel, we're hoping for, and we're a population with a very fast growth rate, very high growth rate. We're hoping for 3% on good years. So we're talking 50% between 2015 and now. So that's less than 10 years.
Yeah.
9 years of growth. That's erasing the economic growth of about 20 years almost overnight. This was a country that was impoverished to begin with. Here's another amazing number to chew on. Unemployment rates that exceed 50%.
I saw on TikTok.
50%.
I saw on TikTok, we have Eli, and he always send me stuff now from the Houthis, is the one that collecting the beer rolls. And
he did a Brazilian Improvisation or something.
Oh, man.
Because he called me every time, and he's like, those Houthis, they don't do anything all day. And apparently most of the people in Yemen right now are at noon going to those coffee shops and just eating gat, because that's what the Houthis want them to do. And most of the agriculture land became a drug.
So let's explain to people that didn't grow up with Yemenites.
Yeah.
And this is interesting because Yemenites are not foreign to Israelis. Israel has a relatively large population of Yemenite Jews that came back from Yemen from several thousand years of being in Yemen. They're culturally very close to the population that existed there in many amusing ways.
Yeah, just so you know,
that's how
guys,
we know they have great food over there.
Exactly. So we know Yemenite food, and we know what gat is. And let's call it the drug of the land in Yemen is a plant called gat. And I'm sure it has a Latin name, which I'm not familiar with, and we're going to bother with.
Yeah.
But what it does is it's opposite to everything that the Syrians are exporting, captogen and stuff like that. This is a downer drug, not an upper drug. It slows you down. It makes you apathetic to life. You say apathetic or apathetical?
No,
whatever one it is.
I don't think it's true.
No.
I think it's the opposite.
No, me'orer aval margia.
No, it wakes you. It's like a caffeine, it's a lot of coffee, basically.
But it doesn't make you active. It doesn't make you hyperactive.
They drinking that with tea, and just joking, and they have this huge
puff. It's like chewing tobacco, but it's, yes, I know it is what do you call it? It's like an energizing drug, but it doesn't cause them to be active. So it doesn't put you to sleep, but it doesn't cause you to be active. And they, even before the Houthis came to power, the Yemenite government every couple of years, this would hit international media in like the obscure and amusing section of the news. They'd have like a piece about, like the Yemenite government has a new campaign similar to in Israel. It would say, make sure you recycle your Coke cans or something like that. Please stop chewing gat all day long because it's hurting our economic growth.
It's like every drug. You take it too much, you can't do anything.
Well, Toma, let me correct you. There are some drugs that you shouldn't take at all.
Yeah.
Quite a few of them, actually. And maybe we should talk about this off air later on.
And by the way, guys, I've been, joking a lot that Tomer is a Houthi, but he's actually not a Houthi.
No.
He's a Kurdi, which is a different...
which is a not country.
It's not a country. It's like the Kurds.
The Kurds.
Yeah.
It's above.
Okay, so
anyway,
so what? Is Israel gonna destroy these Houthis? What's up?
We were talking about their history. So the Houthis, and we'll get to what Israel's been doing with the Houthis, but the Houthis are this movement within Yemen. They've been infighting since the 90s, essentially, and causing an enormous amount of destruction economically, socially, a huge death toll that's no one knows.
Yeah.
It's in the tens of thousands, but the real number is not the direct deaths linked to the violence. Yemen was already a threshold country when it comes to poverty line, and not poverty line in the way we imagine in the West. Poverty line as far as food security goes. So again, we're talking, excuse me for talking negatively about Africa, but this is what Western audiences often think about. When you think about starvation, Yemen's dealing with that. We're talking a caloric deficit that is life-threatening. Not I don't get to eat McDonald's, it's I might starve to death in the next 30 days. That kind of starvation.
Yeah.
So Yemen has, where are my numbers?
Here I send you.
Tens of millions, 24, let's say, 80% of the population in need of humanitarian assistance. 80%.
That's crazy.
So it's a country that went from...
Our government seriously sought to bomb the gat farms to revenge them.
Yeah, they wanted to criminalize gat because of the effects of it.
No, but we're going to bomb... they're thinking to bomb Yemen...
the gat fields to hurt their economy?
Yeah.
Well, that's their response. Yeah, one of the responses.
It's something that's common practice in battles on terrorism. The Americans did the same thing, and by the way, the Russians did, and even Al-Qaeda did the same things to the people growing opium in Afghanistan back in the day.
Let the people use that?
No, to destroy the economy. To
destroy the drug economy.
Yeah.
That's the way to go about it. You burn the fields. Burn the fields. Anyway, so back to the Houthis. So the Houthis are this, again, first and foremost, destructive to the people of Yemen. They ruin their economy. They're killing the people. They're causing the economy to go back to a place where it is completely unable to support itself.
Yeah.
And then we get to their foreign policy. That's where it gets interesting. Now we're talking ships and we're talking missiles.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where things really get interesting.
Yeah, definitely. So, okay, what's the response? Are we gonna attack them again? Are we gonna send any, boots on the ground to Yemen? I'm not sure that Israel will, but maybe we get some help.
Let's
from
remind
the
our
US.
viewers. So these oceans, when you talk about sort of the traffic routes around the world, that route, when you're talking about the area that Yemen sits on, Yemen sits south of Saudi, and it sits on a corner of the ocean where like a huge amount of the world trade goes by.
Basically connecting the Indian Ocean and the African Ocean or something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then a lot of these ships, and is the camera able to see over my shoulder? I'm always told that they can see my screen when I'm...
I don't think they can now.
No.
Googling what is my name on that. So anyway, so...
Who is Mati Shoshani?
Okay, what is my friend? The one and only, that's very good.
How do you spell Mati?
How do you spell Shoshani? Anyway, so you look at Yemen on a map, and I'm looking at this right now, and it sits at this like incredibly tight corner where people go through, again, so they're coming through the Arabian Sea, and then they want to go into the Red Sea and then eventually make it into, of course, the Suez Canal. Yeah. And all they need to do there, they have this incredible chokehold on these straits, and all they need to do on those straits is slightly disrupt. And they've been doing that. Correct me if I'm wrong. They started doing it before the war started, but they really kicked into action after October 7th.
Yeah. On the Western War, they used to be called as pirates. We didn't know them as Houthis. We know them as sea pirates that came from Yemen.
That's true.
And also we heard them about as pirates, as a group. Nobody talked to them that serious as an army of Iran and a proxy until the war.
Do you remember that at the beginning they were throwing deep bombs?
I am the captain now. Is that what you were going to say?
I'm the captain now. No. But
you know the reference?
No, I don't.
Captain Phillips. What's the name of the movie?
But don't forget that they also we all laughing daily about the action because they dancing on ships. They doing funny stuff.
Yeah,
they would dress up.
But they wanted to destroy the internet connections. Remember that the internet cable underneath the ground?
The Russians have been doing that in the North Sea.
So they want to do it also in that area.
Again, it's so bizarre how we go back and forth to these waves. We went from the Cold War being like it was both the best of the armies of the world and the worst of the worst. So it's let's call it aircraft carrier and intercontinental ballistic missiles with 50 nuclear warheads on board. And then at the same time, it's people in the jungles of Vietnam fighting, people in the deserts of Afghanistan fighting. And now we've come full circle to that again. Yeah. It's the superpowers of the world fighting against each other, but it's
through
all
proxies.
Through proxies.
Yeah.
And the proxies this time, again, the way the global trend has been going is the poor have been poorer, if you can say that, more poor than they were before, and the rich are much richer. So you look at the images. This area, these straits that that Yemen sits on, much of the world's wealth travels through those straits. And the world's wealth, we're talking trillions of dollars of goods that are going by in crude oil, in natural gas, in sneakers, in cars, and everything you can imagine that's coming from the east and going to the west, and going from the west into the east, and et cetera, et cetera. And these guys, you have some of the most poor countries of the world. You have the Yemenites, you have the Eritreans, you have South Sudan, North Sudan, some of these incredibly weak and poor countries that are sitting on that same waterway. And for them, the incentive of go and get some of this loot, to use your piracy terminology, is unbelievable.
Plus, what do they have to lose if they don't have food for the next 30 days?
Exactly.
I mean, risking your life to get a ship filled with merchandise sounds pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I heard. It's a long story. Trevor Noah is. Anyway, Trevor Noah is the host of one of the late night shows, but he's a South African stand-up comedian. You know who he is. He's got black curly hair. Anyway, very funny stand-up comedian from South Africa he replaced Stephen Colbert, right?
Yeah.
He replaced Stephen Colbert in the US. Anyway, he has this whole thing. Recently he was on on a podcast with... I'm pulling a blank. Anyway, I'll remember in a sec.
What did he say?
He essentially says this thing. He says you always want your neighbors to be better off than they are, because it also affects your quality of life. So do good gestures of goodwill, because if your neighbors suffer, it's going to affect you too. So he was talking about apartheid South Africa, but it affects also the Middle East. And think about the Middle East is if you are, and the same applies to Israel and the Palestinians, if you are the superpower of the first world, your GDP per capita is pushing $50,000. You have this mega economy that is high tech and chips and software and cyber warfare and all these kind of things. And then your neighbor is so poor that he's not sure where his next meal is going to come from. That is a discrepancy that you cannot bridge. And that's what we have in our neighborhood. You have Israel, which is this financial superpower, and you have the Saudis. Again, these countries where
America, Mexico,
where
everywhere.
Again, and it's this uber wealth versus uber poverty, and the uber poverty has nothing to your point, Yair.
Yeah, nothing.
There's nothing to lose.
Yeah.
The Yemenites, and this is, you talk about the amusing imagery. I don't think about this as amusing. Think about you have these Houthis. They're impoverished individuals with very little education, very little infrastructure as a country, who are flying on Russian helicopters and raiding ships carrying goods in the Red Sea. Okay, think about that image.
Yeah.
And they're
pirates.
They are, say, quote unquote, if you're listening to this on audio, air quotes, they're quote unquote launching cruise missiles against ships in the ocean. And at the same time, you look at their quality of life. They're living in tin huts and wearing flip-flops.
But it's not their missiles.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
That's the whole point. They're being used by Iran.
That's what's tragic about this whole thing, is they're so weakened and they're so destabilized by the violence of radical Islam and by the destabilization of this region and by the Iranians using them as proxies and by everything that's been happening around them, that the Iranians, for a very small amount of money and infrastructure, are able to utilize these people. They're abusing them. Let's be honest here. They're abusing the people of Yemen to wreak havoc on the economy of the world.
Well, it's the same thing as the Iranians do with the people of Lebanon, same thing as they do with the people of Gaza, and the same thing that they did with the people of Syria, at least up until the revolution. It happens all over the place with Iran. So the question to go to from here is should we destroy the Houthis or should we go to the source and attack Iran?
Let me respond with a question.
What?
Do we have a choice?
What, to attack Iran or the Houthis?
No,
yes,
to not respond?
No, but against who?
Against either.
Either, but who's?
No,
what do you mean? You want to attack Iran and the Houthis at the same time?
We have.
He knows already that we are in a war, so
no.
We need to deal with.
No, what has Israel learned in the last? Let's be honest here. What have we learned in the last year and 3 months now?
What, did we have to respond ourselves?
No, that everything you do you must respond with power. Think about the rhetoric of Israeli politicians and military personnel pre-October 7th. The rhetoric always was, look, let's contain, let's manage
proportionately.
Let's manage the conflict. We will consult with our allies on a proportionate response. And even the Americans would converse in that sense. Let's think about a proportionate response, and we will. And it always was violence will be responded to with violence.
I'm excited to see the next quotes from the next administration. The best response.
Okay.
But I think it's broke down when the Iranians shot at us the first night of the missiles, when actually hundreds of missiles being shot.
When they shot directly at us,
over countries of everywhere in the Middle East towards us. And then we need to take the gloves off and start fight.
No, this is remember the story between Kim Jong-un and President Trump in his first term, where the story goes that the Koreans say, well, we have a red button. And Trump responds, well, I have a bigger red button and it works. And it's like, this is the game we're playing now. If you don't respond with power, you're responding with weakness. It's a very zero-sum game. It's or you show them that you're strong or you don't. And think about what Israel's been doing. Israel is, let's tally up the events. We started this podcast with the Houthis are attacking Israel, right?
Yeah.
And they've been launching 1 or 2 cruise missiles. They're mostly intercepted, except for rare exceptions, well over outside of Israel's boundaries. Again, this is happening in sort of the lower layers of the atmosphere, whatever the technical term for that is. I'll Google it later. Anyway, I can't remember what it is now. And it's being intercepted. Sometimes the debris fall in Israel, but again, most of it is outside of the country. But but we're responding. We've attacked within Iran directly when they launched at us. And then we attacked the Houthis. We attacked their military facilities. We attacked their ports. We attacked like a lot of the logistics.
The bombing.
Huh?
I said we saw the pictures and the videos that came of the bombing, and we blew up the Hudeda port in the second time of the attack. It was a massive attack, but it didn't bother them.
Well, why do you say it didn't bother them?
Because they look pretty okay after, and they shot us.
No, I don't know. I saw. Let me say this. I've seen the footage of the Yemenite people after the Israeli Air Force bombings, and I can absolutely say that they seem to care a lot. I'm thinking, you see the look of fear. You see the flames that are running hundreds of meters up into the air, hundreds of yards for those who speak freedom. It's a very dramatic imagery, and it put fear and also a clear sign to what Israel is willing to do. Then the question I think is if you have a force that is fed externally by the Iranians and is willing to continue fighting because they're not sacrificing anything, and Yemen isn't this country where you'll say we'll destroy all your industrial zones. It's an already impoverished and already broken and an already failing economy. All you're doing is inflicting more pain on an already suffering population. That's where I feel it gets murky.
Yeah, it might be even like working against us, because if the population thinks that we are destroying their ports, and then the Houthis can use that to recruit more people against Israel. Sometimes this is what's happening. Depends what they are telling their own people. Yeah. And if they control the media in Yemen, and if they receive the funds from Iran, and the Houthis are controlling the humanitarian aid from the West and giving them food, so they have no reason to not rally behind them.
I want to say something else here. Is if you think about this and you look at, again, I'm like looking at the map here of, I don't know why my computer's like so slow today.
Of Houthi?
No, you look at the location of Yemen. Yemen has much of a stronger leverage than the Iranians do. And you saw this during the war. The American, let's call it the U.S. Allies, UK, Britain, UK and France and the U.S., they were a little soft-handed for the most part on the Iranians.
Yeah.
When it came to like their attacks or their feints at the Americans. That was not the case with the Houthis, because the Houthis sit on the artery of maritime trade. And every time, think even like in the beginning of the war, we're talking like the end of last year, any attack that was coming out of Yemen, they had bombing missions going into Yemen. And we're talking like, you'd see the imagery of this, and the Americans would release these numbers that you don't hear anywhere else. We launched cruise missiles, and Air Force strike, and we're moving our assets. So this is much more sensitive when it comes to the financial impact of it than what it was with the Iranians. So I think they're getting much more of a immediate response and a more violent response than others are getting.
Well, still not enough, I think. Still, it seems like Israel is the only one that is really, taking this into consideration.
Yeah, we have to. Look, Yair, we look at this. I was just the other week. I was seeing a member of my family, and this is how bizarre it is. This war. We went riding on a Saturday morning. I bike. I would say almost religiously.
Every Saturday.
I religiously bike every Saturday morning.
Yeah, I went with him a few times. It's kind of scary,
in the mountains of Israel, and one of my family members comes in. He looks like all like sleep deprived. And I said, "What happened?" He's like, "What do you mean? What happened? Don't you know?" I said, "I have no idea." He said, "Well, last night we were woken up at 2:30 in the morning to sirens that literally got us levitating out of our beds." And I said,
"And he came to ride with you?"
Yeah.
Respect.
Shows dedication.
Respect, yeah.
Anyway, and I said, I didn't even hear it. He's like, I didn't have a chance because it's super early in the morning. I didn't even look at the news yet. It was a Saturday. He says, no, this is, we woke up in the middle of the night. There were sirens. We were in the bomb shelter. Yeah. Then the kids are afraid to go back to bed. So you have to respond to this. How can you not respond to that kind of fire?
True.
I don't know if it leaves you a choice.
Guys, I love your cups.
Thank you.
With the big ones? Yeah, it seems like every show they get bigger.
At this point, I feel like next week it's going to be a trash bin with a logo on it on the table. Thank you. Yair and I obviously have have no water consumption problem.
Definitely. Okay, Mati, so who's the sponsor for today's show?
That's a great question. Our sponsor today is Box. Mm-hmm. And Box do something very, very unique. And I'll say this to my camera. If you ask yourself the question of, I care about what's happening in Israel, but I can't fly here right now. I want to support businesses on the ground in Israel. Well, you're lucky because today is the day you can do that. We have Altsabaks, who are today's sponsor.
Yeah.
They create these very unique gift boxes from Israel. These are not from big companies, not from international corporations. They are from artisans in the country.
Yeah.
And not only that, the viewers of this podcast get I should say the subscribers
only
of the podcast.
Only the subscribers.
Only the subscribers get a huge discount.
20% discount, especially for Hanukkah and Christmas.
How do they do that, Yair?
They go to www.artsabox.com and then they enter this very special code that only if you're a subscriber you can hear me say, TBN20. Enter TBN20, get a 20% discount on your Artsabox subscription. You help the people of Israel and you help us create more content here at TBN Israel.
And if you're not a subscriber, you should do TBN10 when you do checkout. I'm just kidding. It's the same discount.
Yeah, definitely. But please subscribe, guys.
Anyway,
okay, good.
So let's summarize where we've been, because we've talked about a lot of things. So we talked about the Houthis. First and foremost, as always, they destroyed their own country, and the people of Yemen are suffering.
Then they tried to destroy other parts of this Middle East.
And this has not been an isolated event. It's been deteriorating consistently for the people of Yemen, and it is really bad. It is a humanitarian crisis that is intense, that requires international intervention.
Yeah.
There are people there who are on the point of starvation. There are people there who've lost their livelihoods. The economy is struggling because of the Houthis.
Yes. So this is a good time to tell people. It's very important to pray for these people, for the people that are suffering because of these terrorist groups. However, the first ones that suffer are not Israel, are not the West, are the people of Yemen, because they're under this rule of extreme, violence, extreme radicalism, and let's keep them in our prayers when we pray for our neighbors.
Yeah. And again, we keep getting to this, but I feel like at this point of the conflict, what we have to focus on is always the human element.
Yeah.
We love the big numbers and stuff like that. Look, imagine these families that they've lost their livelihood. Their villages are attacked by the Houthis. The Houthis are kidnapping children. They're raping women. They're destroying the infrastructure. They've destroyed the economy. I mean, they've taken back their economy a lifetime of economic growth.
This is a huge country.
These
people think it might be tiny. It's huge.
Yemen is a huge country. They deserve
10
better.
times bigger than Israel.
Yeah, well, everything's 10 times bigger than Israel.
Yeah, but we are 10 times in the news than any other country for some reason.
There are farms in Texas that are bigger than the state of Israel. Seriously. Anyway, but to our point, look, think about these people. They deserve better than this. We need to pray for them to have better life than this. They deserve better than the Houthis as their governors.
Yes.
And that should be in the forefront of everyone's thoughts about this topic. And then, of course, Israel has the right to defend itself.
Yeah.
So we don't need to take it, what is the expression, take it lying down. When it comes to the Houthis, we have the right to defend ourselves against Iranian aggression, against Houthi aggression, against whatever aggression. And we will continue to maintain that right.
Yeah, and Houthis are the last, basically the last proxy of Iran that still poses a daily threat to Israel, at least to our livelihood, to not waking up in the middle of the night, rushing to bomb shelters, and we will deal with them also.
Yeah, and let's frame the conversation here. This is now no longer just an Israel problem. It's an international issue that requires international intervention.
I think that's kind of a recurring element.
Yeah.
Nothing is just an Israel problem, because all these terrorist organizations, especially Iran, has a lot wider aspirations than just Israel.
Well,
they always start with the Jews.
If you tell the story, it was first an Israel problem, and then it became an everyone problem.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what happened here.
Yeah.
It was first an Israel problem, and then everyone said, well, it's only an Israel problem.
Yeah.
Also,
we have no beef with the Houthis. Or if you're vegan, we have no tofu with the Houthis. But
even in the Holocaust, it was first the Jewish problem, and then it became everybody problem.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's an international issue, and at this point, sheket.
Sheket is silence in Hebrew, by the way.
At this point, it's become such an issue that it will take an international intervention to solve the problem in Yemen. First, they need to be rid of the Houthis. Secondly, they need financial aid.
Yeah.
Because the Houthis have destroyed the economy of an already weak country.
Yeah.
And only then will these people have something that isn't the road of violence or piracy. So the two things are intertwined. They need to receive aid to come out of that situation.
But
and
it needs to receive aid wisely. We need to kind of give them, how do you call it? train them how to fish instead of giving them the fish.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I wouldn't.
How do you pray that?
Not fishing.
I don't know much about fishing. I live in Jerusalem, but yeah, I'll take your analogy. Anyway, but to your point, so that's a really big issue. And then again, there's always the backstory here. And behind everything, behind every person suffering in Yemen, in Syria, and Lebanon, is one person only, at the head of Iran. And through him, the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, who are the cause, and think about it from this perspective, for the people of Yemen, for the people of Syria, for the people of Lebanon, for the people of Gaza, for the people of Israel, the head of the snake. Are we allowed to say that, or were we told we shouldn't say that?
No,
you can, you're allowed
it's
to
a
say
theory, I don't know.
I don't know.
The octopus.
We don't know. We speculate that YouTube shadow bans us if we if we say it. Anyway, but behind all this is the evil government of the Iranian people that is taking the money of the Iranian people and the Houthis and the Yemenites and everyone else and is using it to wreak havoc on the world and hurt their lives.
Yeah.
So when you talk about, and this is going to come up sometime in the beginning of 2025, we're going to forget about everything, and there's going to be whatever the acronym is for one of the nuclear treaties. I forget the full acronym. It's not a very catchy one.
JCPOA.
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 Yeah, that one. The JCPOA one.
Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action.
Good for you, Yair. Hey,
Wow.
10 points for Yair for that one. Anyway, so the JCPOA, that's coming up soon. Then everyone's going to forget what happened. They'll say, look, the Iranians are new. They've changed.
Yeah.
Now they're a peace-seeking nation. They no longer pursue the road of violence. All the while the Houthis are still going to be lobbing weapons and rockets at Israel. And we need to remember that the suffering that happened to those people and through them to the people of Israel, it all originates with the Iranians.
Definitely.
So when you talk about, we want to have international embargoes on them, we want to have sanctions, we want to prevent this and we want to prevent that, that all goes back to the same problem. Stop exporting terrorism, and then we should be able to talk with you about
economic developments, everything.
Yeah.
For sure. Matthew, maybe we should end on a positive note. What is this, guys? I don't know if you know what it is. We're going to share a little bit. So this is a Hanukkah, and we're in Hanukkah. In Hanukkah, we celebrate a miracle that happened 2,200 years ago.
Yeah,
you told me yesterday when we lit the candle. And in that miracle, a small number of Israelites that lived here were forced not to worship God, and they decided to rebel against the Greeks. Okay? And with the help of God, they were able to win that battle and to continue worshiping God.
Yeah.
And that's what we're celebrating every year with Hanukkah. This year it's at the same night of Christmas, so this is why we are combining the two.
Hanukkah Christmas celebration.
Yeah.
And also to specify to everyone at home that's looking at that and saying, wait a minute, doesn't the menorah have a different number?
It does.
It does. This is not a menorah. This is a Hanukkah, because a Hanukkah commemorates a specific miracle, which is the oil of the temple lasting for 8 days, plus the shamash, which is the diakonos, the dean, that lights all of them, which is again the father that brings light to everyone else.
Yeah.
So it's highly symbolic and not the menorah.
Definitely, definitely. But what we're celebrating is that a great miracle happened back then, and it's still happening today. So if you need any kind of encouragement in your life, look towards Israel. In the Bible times, God was there for us, and He's there for Israel now. He'll be with us in the future. We serve a faithful God, and He's faithful to each and every one of you. Okay, so be encouraged, and happy Hanukkah. I don't know what Mati got a gift. I didn't get a gift. What's up?
I think you're about to get one. This is a surprise to me.
Yeah, me too.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Wow.
Yair?
And Micha like to make us present
Thank you.
with his photo.
Hold on a minute.
Opa! Thank you so much. I got some Vaseline from my lips.
Many of our viewers are concerned that Yair's lips always look dry.
What's with? Oh yeah, this is a good story. I think it's combining two stories. Oh no. Okay,
those are the nuns.
Definitely. So it was I think half a year ago. We got a visit from 3 women who watched our shows, and they brought 200 Vaseline.
No, they were they actually brought the ballistics.
Yeah, ballistics. here, and they said that they saw my first report, and I looked, my lips were so dry. So they felt that God wanted to bring me Vaseline.
Oh, what just happened here?
What is this for?
This thing is broken.
I made a mess. Oops.
Wait, what else did I get? Oh, I like it.
Yeah,
basketball?
careful with that.
Okay, so let's do it together. Oh, your
How do we do this, Tomer?
Opposite.
You twist the bottom?
But you...
So much for that.
Wait, I'll do it. You destroy. I'm the only one that has something left here. Okay, guys. So, thank you for watching TBN Israel, the podcast.
Wait, we're not done because I think we're going to have to...
Watch, subscribe, share.
Let me show people what we got.
Hey, is it opening like this? Let me read it.
Where's Micha's note?
זה נפתח למעלה, מאיפה זה נשפך לך? מלמעלה או מלמטה?
לא יודע, משני הצדדים. So, Micah, thank you very much. He writes, Micah gave me a brush. We call this כמו קרח לאסקימוסים. It's like ice for the Eskimos. We don't say Eskimos. We say, what do you say? First Nation people. Just a joke. Would love Micah. P.S. Please don't fire me. He gave me a hairbrush.
I got.
I'm not going to fire you, Micah. And warm socks. Thank you very much for the.
I got Micha photo.
Okay,
and I got a basketball thing.
I don't want to fall. I'm going to show everyone my socks today. In my socks, Yair was with me when I bought them. Santa Claus.
I don't think they see it.
They can't see it. They'll just have to take my word. Santa Claus is surfing, which is perfect for the weather we have. Perfect for the weather we have in Israel.
Yeah, right. Okay, so let's see. Skill throw. Okay, and let's see if this thing works for me. I hope it's the right direction. ככה או ככה?
לא, פשוט סובב, רק סובב.
לא, לסובב נראה לי עם זה סגור.
אוקיי, גאצ'ה. עם זה סגור? לא, אופן. אוקיי, 1, 2. Woo!
Happy Christmas and happy Hanukkah.
Great Hanukkah to you, Mati.
Next week,
happy Hanukkah.
we'll not have any more missiles on us.
Yeah, that's wish for a peaceful year ahead of us. Guys, have a great holiday season. Spend lots of time with your families. Eat a lot. Go walk out. Go take your bicycle for our mountain ride. I know Mati will. And keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem.
Hello, this is Mati here in Jerusalem with TBN Israel.
This is Yair Pinto from TBN Israel here in Jerusalem. TBN Israel is keeping viewers informed with Israel-focused news, culture, and what God is doing in this land.
Support TBN Israel today online at tbn.org/Israel. Thank you.